The morning sun cast golden rays through the tall windows of Kensington Palace as Princess Kate stood before an ornate mirror, her reflection showing the careful work of royal stylists. Today was not just any day. It was the coronation of King Charles III, and the entire world would be watching. Her elegant blue dress, chosen months in advance, represented both tradition and modernity, perfectly suited for the future Queen of England. In the adjacent room, Prince William adjusted, his ceremonial uniform, the weight of his military decorations familiar yet meaningful on this historic day. As the heir to the throne, his presence at Westminster Abbey would mark not just his support for his father, but also his own journey toward kingship. The morning routine felt both ordinary and extraordinary, filled with the quiet intensity that accompanies momentous occasions. Down the hallway, their three children were experiencing their own preparations. Prince George, now old enough to understand the significance of the day, sat patiently as his hair was combed into place. At 10 years old, he had attended many royal events, but this coronation held special meaning. He was watching his grandfather become king, knowing that one day this same ceremony might be held for his own father. Princess Charlotte, vibrant and curious at 8 years old, twirled in her carefully selected dress, delighting the staff with her enthusiasm. Unlike her more reserved, older brother Charlotte embraced the pageantry and excitement of royal occasions. Her bright smile and natural confidence had already made her a favorite with the public, and today she seemed to glow with anticipation. 5-year-old Prince Louis, the youngest of the family, bounced with barely contained energy. His parents had carefully considered whether he was ready for such a long and formal ceremony, ultimately deciding that this historic moment was too important for him to miss. His childlike wonder at the elaborate preparations around him brought lightness to what could have been an overwhelming morning. The palace staff moved with practiced precision, ensuring every detail was perfect. Security personnel conducted final checks, stylists made last-minute adjustments, and protocol officers reviewed the intricate timing that would guide the family through the day. The children's nanny helped coordinate their needs while respecting the formal atmosphere that surrounded them. Kate took a moment to gather her children in the sitting room, speaking to them in the gentle but clear tone she used for important conversations. She explained what they would see and experience at Westminster Abbey, reminding them of their special role as members of the royal family. Her words balanced the excitement of the occasion with the responsibility they carried as representatives of the monarchy. William joined the family gathering, his presence bringing a sense of calm authority. He knelt down to speak with Louis, ensuring his youngest son understood the basic expectations for behavior during the long ceremony. The prince's natural warmth with his children was evident as he answered their questions and addressed their concerns about the day ahead. The families. Breakfast was served in their private dining room, a meal carefully planned to sustain them through the hours ahead. Conversation flowed easily between practical matters and excited observations about the day. Charlotte asked detailed questions about the crown jewels she would see, while George wondered about the music and processions they would witness as departure time approached. Final photographs were taken in the palace's formal rooms. These images would become part of royal history, capturing the family in a moment of transition and celebration. The children stood with growing confidence, understanding that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Kate felt the familiar mixture of pride and protectiveness that accompanied public appearances with her children. Each outing taught them valuable lessons about their roles and responsibilities, but she remained vigilant about preserving their childhood amid the formal demands of royal life. Today's experience would be one they would remember forever. The final preparations complete, the family gathered near the palace entrance. Their carriage awaited outside, polished and decorated for the historic journey to Westminster Abbey. Staff members offered final reminders and good wishes. as the family prepared to step into the public eye and take their places at one of the most significant ceremonial events in recent British history. William took Kate's hand briefly, a small gesture of connection and support, before they assumed their public roles. The children stood together, their excitement now mixed with the solemnity they had learned to associate with important royal duties. The day that had been planned and anticipated for months was finally beginning, and the Wales family was ready to play their part in crowning a new king. The royal carriage pulled away from Kensington Palace with a gentle lurch that made Prince Louis giggle softly. Through the polished windows, London stretched out before them, already alive with crowds of people who had camped overnight to catch a glimpse of the historic procession. Red, white, and blue bunting decorated every lamp-post and building, creating a festive atmosphere that filled the city with celebration. Princess Charlotte pressed her face to the window, marveling at the sea of people lining the streets. Many held handmade signs and British flags, while others wore elaborate costumes and crowns in tribute to the occasion. The crowds seemed to stretch endlessly, creating waves of cheering that followed the royal procession through the heart of London. Charlotte waved enthusiastically, delighting in the responsive cheers from the spectators. Prince George maintained his more reserved demeanor, but his eyes were bright with interest as he observed the ceremonial guards and mounted police who escorted their carriage. The precision and pageantry of the procession impressed him, and he asked thoughtful questions about the various uniforms and traditions they encountered along the route. His parents answered quietly, maintaining the dignified atmosphere while nurturing his curiosity. Kate smiled warmly at the crowds, her natural grace evident in every gesture. Years of public appearances had taught her to connect with people even from a distance, and her genuine warmth seemed to reach the spectators, who called out greetings and good wishes. She occasionally pointed out interesting sights to her children, helping them appreciate the historic significance of their journey through London. William acknowledged the crowds with the measured dignity expected of the future king, but his eyes often returned to his children, monitoring their reactions and ensuring they remained comfortable with the overwhelming attention. The procession moved at a stately pace, allowing plenty of time for the public to see the royal family while maintaining the solemnity appropriate to the occasion. The carriage route took them past some of London's most famous landmarks, each decorated specially for the coronation. Buckingham Palace stood majestically in the distance, while the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben provided a historic backdrop to their journey. The children had seen these buildings many times, but never in such a festive and meaningful context. As they traveled, Kate discreetly helped Louis with his posture and reminded Charlotte to wave with both hands free rather than holding onto her dress. These small corrections were delivered with gentle smiles and loving touches, maintaining the children's comfort while ensuring they presented themselves appropriately for the watching world. The crowds grew larger and more enthusiastic as they approached Westminster Abbey. International visitors mixed with local Londoners, creating a diverse celebration that reflected the global interest in the coronation. Television crews positioned along the route captured every moment, broadcasting the procession to millions of viewers worldwide who couldn't attend in person. Prince George noticed the various security measures that protected their journey, from the mounted guards to the plainclothes officers scattered throughout the crowds. His growing awareness of these protective details reflected his maturing understanding of his family's unique position and the responsibilities that came with their royal status. The Abbey bells began to ring as their carriage drew closer to Westminster, their magnificent sound carrying across London and announcing the arrival of the royal family. The children looked up instinctively, trying to locate the source of the beautiful music that seemed to welcome them to this sacred place where English monarchs had been crowned for nearly 1,000 years. Street performers and musicians had positioned themselves along the route, adding their own contributions to the celebration. A group of children from a local school choir sang traditional hymns, their young voices rising above the crowd noise. Charlotte seemed particularly enchanted by their performance, clapping softly from inside the carriage. As Westminster Abbey came into view, its Gothic towers and flying buttresses stood majestically against the morning sky. The ancient building had been specially prepared for the coronation, with additional seating and decorations that honored both tradition and the significance of this particular ceremony. Crowds packed every available viewing space around the Abbey grounds. Kate took a moment to straighten the children's clothing and ensure they looked their best for the arrival photographs that would be taken as they left the carriage. Her own appearance remained flawless despite the journey, a testament to both her stylist's skill and her own natural poise under pressure. The carriage slowed as it approached the Abbey entrance, where additional members of the royal family and distinguished guests were also arriving. The children could see familiar faces among the gathering dignitaries, adding to their comfort as they prepared to enter the historic building where their grandfather would be crowned king. The massive doors of Westminster Abbey opened to reveal an interior transformed for the coronation ceremony. Thousands of flowers created stunning arrangements throughout the ancient space, while specially designed banners hung from the Gothic arches above. The Abbey, which had witnessed nearly 1,000 years of royal ceremonies, seemed to glow with anticipation for this historic moment. Prince William guided his family through the entrance, where they were greeted by the Dean of Westminster and other senior clergy who would conduct the ceremony. The children walked with careful steps on the specially laid carpet that led toward their designated seats, their eyes wide as they took in the magnificent surroundings that few people ever experience so intimately. The Abbey was filled with distinguished guests from around the world, including heads of state, religious leaders, and representatives from the Commonwealth nations. Princess Charlotte whispered quietly to her mother, asking about some of the colorful traditional costumes worn by international dignitaries. Kate responded with gentle explanations that helped her daughter appreciate the global significance of the day. Their seats were positioned to provide an excellent view of the coronation ceremony while allowing the children to observe comfortably throughout the long service. Kate had prepared them for the duration of the event, explaining that they would need to sit quietly and respectfully while maintaining their attention on the important proceedings taking place before them. Prince George studied the elaborate decorations and ceremonial objects that had been arranged around the altar area. The coronation chair, dating back over 700 years, sat prominently where his grandfather would soon be crowned. Ancient swords, ceremonial staffs, and other regalia were displayed with reverence, each piece carrying centuries of history and tradition. The Abbey's magnificent organ began playing processional music, its powerful sound filling every corner of the sacred space. The children had heard organ music before, but never in such a grand setting or with such ceremonial importance. Prince Louis seemed particularly fascinated by the music, turning his head to try to see the massive instrument hidden in the Abbey's upper levels. Other members of the royal family took their places in nearby seats, creating a gathering that represented both the continuity and evolution of the British monarchy. The children recognized many of their relatives and offered polite greetings, though they maintained the quiet demeanor appropriate for the sacred setting and solemn occasion. Kate kept a watchful eye on all three children while maintaining her own composure and attention to the ceremony preparations. Her ability to manage her maternal duties while fulfilling her public role demonstrated the skill she had developed over years of royal engagements. She occasionally offered quiet words of encouragement or gentle corrections to ensure the children remained comfortable and appropriate. The lighting inside the Abbey created an almost magical atmosphere with centuries-old stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the stone floors and walls. Charlotte seemed mesmerized by these dancing colors, while George appeared more focused on the human drama unfolding as dignitaries and officials took their positions for the ceremony. Television cameras positioned throughout the Abbey captured every moment for the global audience, but they were placed discreetly to avoid disrupting the sacred nature of the proceedings. The children had grown accustomed to being photographed at public events, but the scale of media attention for the coronation was unlike anything they had previously experienced. A hush fell over the assembled congregation as the ceremony preparations neared completion. The anticipation was palpable, with nearly 2,000 guests waiting quietly for the arrival of the king who would be crowned in this ancient and sacred ritual. The children sensed the change in atmosphere and adjusted their own behavior accordingly, sitting straighter and focusing more intently on the altar area. William felt the weight of the moment not just as a son watching his father's coronation, but as the future king who would one day undergo this same ceremony. His children would remember this day forever, and he hoped they were gaining an appreciation for the responsibilities and traditions they would inherit as members of the royal family. The Abbey's acoustics amplified every sound, from the rustling of formal clothing to the quiet conversations among the clergy preparing for the service. This created an intimate atmosphere despite the massive scale of the building and the ceremony, allowing everyone present to feel personally connected to the historic event about to unfold. Kate made final adjustments to the children's positions and clothing, ensuring they would be comfortable and presentable throughout the long ceremony ahead. Her gentle touch and reassuring smiles provided comfort and confidence to all three children as they prepared to witness one of the most significant moments in modern British history. The great bells of Westminster continued ringing outside, their joyful sound announcing to all of London that the coronation ceremony was about to begin. Inside the Abbey, the royal family and distinguished guests settled into respectful silence, ready to participate in a ritual that connected them to centuries of British tradition and history. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived as King Charles III entered Westminster Abbey in full ceremonial robes, followed by Queen Camilla in an elegant gown that sparkled under the Abbey's ancient lights. The children watched with fascination as their grandfather processed down the aisle, transformed by the magnificent regalia that marked his transition from prince to monarch. Prince Louis pointed quietly at the golden crown being carried behind his grandfather, whispering questions to his mother about its weight and meaning. Kate answered softly, explaining that this was St. Edward's crown, used only for coronation ceremonies and weighing nearly 5 pounds. She helped him understand that wearing such a heavy crown required both physical strength and symbolic commitment to serving the nation. The Archbishop of Canterbury began the ancient ceremony with words that had been spoken at coronations for hundreds of years. Princess Charlotte listened intently to the formal language, occasionally asking whispered questions about the meaning of certain phrases. Her curiosity about the religious and ceremonial aspects of the event showed her growing understanding of the royal family's role in British traditions. Prince George observed everything with the serious attention of someone who understood this ceremony would one day be performed for his own father and eventually for himself. His mature behavior throughout the long service impressed the adults around him, demonstrating his growing awareness of his position as third in line to the throne and his responsibilities to the monarchy. The ceremony included multiple parts, each with deep historical significance. The children watched as their grandfather took sacred oaths, promising to serve his subjects with justice and mercy. These vows connected the new king to every monarch who had made similar promises in this same abbey, creating an unbroken chain of service stretching back nearly a millennium. When the moment came for the actual crowning, a profound silence fell over the abbey. The Archbishop lifted St. Edward's crown high above the king's head before gently placing it in position, officially transforming Prince Charles into King Charles III. The children witnessed this transformation with wide eyes, understanding they were seeing history being made before them. The organ burst into triumphant music as the congregation erupted in cheers of "God Save the King!" Princess Charlotte clapped enthusiastically, while her brothers maintained more reserved responses appropriate to their positions. Kate smiled with obvious pride and emotion, watching her father-in-law officially assume the role he had prepared for his entire life. Queen Camilla's own ceremony followed, with a smaller but equally beautiful crown being placed upon her head. The children observed this parallel ritual with continued fascination, learning about the role of the queen consort and how she would support their grandfather in his new duties as monarch. Her dignified bearing throughout the ceremony demonstrated the grace required for royal service. The presentation of various ceremonial objects followed, including ancient swords, golden orbs, and jeweled scepters that represented different aspects of royal authority. Prince George asked intelligent questions about these symbols, showing his growing understanding of how ceremonial objects connect to real governmental responsibilities and the constitutional monarchy's role in modern Britain. During quieter moments, in the ceremony, the children could hear the crowds outside Westminster Abbey celebrating in the streets. The sound of cheering and singing created a joyful backdrop to the solemn proceedings inside, reminding everyone present that this ceremony belonged to the entire nation, not just to those privileged enough to witness it in person. Kate managed her children's needs throughout the long ceremony with remarkable skill, offering quiet entertainment during slower portions while ensuring they remained attentive during the most important moments. She provided small snacks discreetly and helped them maintain proper posture without making them feel uncomfortable or constrained by the formal requirements. William watched his father's coronation with obvious pride and emotion, understanding better than anyone the magnitude of the responsibilities being assumed. His children's presence beside him added personal meaning to the ceremony, as he contemplated the continuation of the monarchy through future generations and the lessons they were learning about service and duty. The magnificent music provided by the Abbey's choir enhanced every moment of the ceremony, with voices rising in harmonies that seemed to reach toward heaven itself. The children were particularly impressed by the power and beauty of the choral arrangements, which combined traditional hymns with specially commissioned pieces that honored both past and present. As the formal coronation concluded, the newly crowned king and queen prepared for the final processions that would take them back to Buckingham Palace. The children had successfully participated in one of the most important ceremonies in British history, gaining experiences and memories that would influence their understanding of royal duty for the rest of their lives. Photography and filming throughout the ceremony captured countless precious moments of the family's participation, creating historical records that would allow future generations to witness their grace and dignity during this transformative day. The children's natural behavior and obvious engagement with the proceedings reflected well on their parents' preparation and their own developing sense of royal responsibility. The coronation ceremony concluded with a magnificent procession as the newly crowned King Charles III and Queen Camilla processed through Westminster Abbey, wearing their crowns for the first time as sovereign and consort. The children stood with their parents, joining the thunderous applause that echoed through the ancient walls, their faces glowing with excitement and pride at witnessing this historic transformation. Outside the Abbey, London had transformed into a massive celebration. The return journey to Buckingham Palace would be even more spectacular than their morning arrival, with the streets now filled with people who had watched the ceremony on large screens set up throughout the city. The energy was electric, with singing, cheering, and flag-waving, creating a festive atmosphere that stretched for miles. The royal family's carriage for the return journey was more ornate than the morning's transport, befitting the celebration that followed the solemn ceremony. Prince Louis bounced with excitement as they settled into their seats, his earlier good behavior now giving way to the natural enthusiasm of a 5-year-old who had just witnessed something truly magical and wanted to share his joy with the celebrating crowds. Princess Charlotte had collected small mementos from the ceremony, including a special program and a commemorative coin that had been given to young guests. She examined these treasures carefully during the carriage ride, asking her parents to help her understand their significance and how she could preserve them as keepsakes from this unforgettable day. The return procession moved more slowly then, their morning journey, allowing the royal family more time to acknowledge the crowds and for the public to see the children who had participated so beautifully in the historic ceremony. International news crews captured every moment, broadcasting images of the Wales family's gracious response to the celebration throughout the world. Prince George waved steadily to the crowds, his earlier reserve now replaced by obvious enjoyment of the people's enthusiastic response. He seemed to understand that the celebration was not just for his grandfather's coronation, but also recognition of the family's continuing commitment to serving the nation. His mature handling of the public attention impressed observers and demonstrated his growing readiness for his future role. Kate looked radiant as she responded to the crowds, her natural warmth and genuine pleasure in the day's events clearly visible to everyone who saw her. The successful management of her children's participation in such a complex and demanding event showcased her skills as both a mother and a future queen, balancing personal family needs with public royal duties. The carriage route took them past, viewing areas where school children had been given special places to watch the procession. These young spectators seemed particularly excited to see Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, waving energetically and calling out greetings to the royal children who represented their own generation's connection to the monarchy. Street parties were visible throughout London, with communities that had organized their own celebrations in honor of the coronation. Tables laden with traditional British foods, decorations in patriotic colors, and live music created neighborhood festivals that complemented the official ceremonies. The children enjoyed pointing out these local celebrations to their parents. William felt deep satisfaction watching his children's engagement with the public celebration. Their natural responses to the crowd's enthusiasm showed they were developing healthy relationships with their future subjects, understanding that royal service meant connecting genuinely with people from all walks of life while maintaining the dignity appropriate to their positions. As they approached Buckingham Palace, the crowds became even larger and more enthusiastic. The famous balcony appearance was still to come, providing another opportunity for the public to celebrate with the royal family. The children had been looking forward to this moment, knowing they would have a chance to wave to the massive crowd gathered in front of the palace. The carriage passed through the palace gates to thunderous cheering from the assembled crowd. Thousands of people had gathered in front of Buckingham Palace, many having waited for hours to secure good viewing positions for the traditional balcony appearance. The atmosphere was jubilant, with everyone eager to continue celebrating the successful coronation. Inside the palace, there was time for a brief rest and refreshment before the balcony appearance. The children were able to sit down, have something to drink, and share their excitement about the day's events with other family members who had also participated in the ceremony. Their animated conversations showed how much they had enjoyed and understood the significance of their participation. Kate used this quiet moment to check on each child individually, ensuring they were comfortable and ready for the final public appearance of the day. She straightened their clothing, offered encouragement about their excellent behavior throughout the long ceremony, and prepared them for the enthusiastic reception they would receive from the palace crowd. The traditional balcony appearance represented the culmination of Coronation Day, providing a final opportunity for the newly crowned king and queen to share their joy with the nation. The children understood this would be their last official duty of the day, after which they could return to more normal family activities and begin processing the incredible experiences they had shared. Palace staff prepared the family for their emergence onto the famous balcony, coordinating the timing with the crowd management below, and ensuring that every detail would create a perfect conclusion to this historic day. The children's excitement was evident as they prepared to step onto the balcony that had been the setting for so many memorable royal moments throughout British history. The moment arrived for the traditional balcony appearance as the royal family gathered behind the famous French doors that led to Buckingham Palace's most iconic feature. Through the glass, they could see thousands of people packed into the area. In front of the palace, all waiting eagerly to celebrate with the newly crowned king and his family. The roar of the crowd was already audible, creating an atmosphere of electric anticipation. King Charles III, still wearing his coronation robes and crown, stepped onto the balcony first with Queen Camilla, their appearance triggering an explosion of cheers that could be heard for miles around London. The sound was overwhelming and joyful, representing the nation's welcome for their new sovereign and the conclusion of a day that had brought the country together in celebration. Prince William emerged next, followed by Kate and their 3 children, who had been positioned carefully to ensure they could see and be seen by the massive crowd below. Princess Charlotte immediately began waving enthusiastically, her natural exuberance perfectly suited to the celebratory moment. Her bright smile and energetic gestures delighted the crowd and photographers capturing this historic scene. Prince George stood with dignified composure, waving steadily to different sections of the crowd and demonstrating the poise expected of someone in his position. His behavior throughout the entire day had been exemplary, showing his growing understanding of his role and responsibilities. The crowd seemed to recognize his maturity, responding with particular enthusiasm when he acknowledged their presence. 5-year-old Prince Louis provided some of the day's most memorable moments with his uninhibited reactions to the crowd's enthusiasm. His genuine excitement and natural responses created endearing interactions that humanized the formal royal proceedings. His parents smiled indulgently at his animated behavior, understanding that his authentic joy connected powerfully with the celebrating public. The view from the balcony revealed the true scale of the celebration, with people filling every available space from the palace gates to the Victoria Memorial and beyond. British flags waved everywhere, creating a sea of red, white, and blue that extended as far as the eye could see. The sight was breathtaking, representing the unity and shared joy of a nation celebrating together. Kate stood close to her children, ready to offer guidance or support while allowing them to enjoy this extraordinary moment. Her own radiant smile and graceful acknowledgement of the crowd demonstrated why she had become such a beloved member of the royal family. Her natural warmth and genuine pleasure in the day's events were clearly visible to everyone watching. The traditional RAF flypast began as military aircraft appeared in the sky above London, their precise formations creating spectacular displays that added to the celebration's grandeur. The children looked up in wonder at the various planes, from historic fighters to modern jets, all participating in this tribute to the new king. Prince Louis pointed excitedly at each aircraft, his enthusiasm infectious. The Red Arrow's aerobatic team concluded the flypast with their signature red, white, and blue smoke trails, creating patriotic colors across the London sky. The crowd's cheers reached new levels as the aircraft passed directly over Buckingham Palace, providing a stunning visual climax to the coronation celebrations. The children waved at the planes as if the pilots could see them personally, photographers and camera crews captured every moment of the balcony appearance, creating images that would become part of British royal history. The pictures of the 3 Wales children participating in their grandfather's coronation would be treasured memories for the family and historical documents for future generations studying this significant moment in the monarchy's evolution. The family remained on the balcony for several more minutes, continuing to acknowledge the crowd's enthusiasm and allowing everyone present to share in this moment of national celebration. The children's natural behavior and obvious enjoyment of the public's response showed they were developing healthy relationships with their future subjects while maintaining appropriate royal dignity. As the formal balcony appearance concluded, the family waved final farewells to the crowd before returning inside the palace. The children were clearly tired but exhilarated by their day's experiences, chattering excitedly about their favorite moments and the incredible sights they had witnessed throughout the historic ceremony and celebrations. Inside the palace, there was time for the family to relax and reflect on the day's events. The children were finally able to sit comfortably, remove their formal shoes, and share their thoughts about the coronation with their parents and other family members. Their animated discussions showed how much they had absorbed and appreciated the significance of their participation. Kate felt enormous pride in her children's behavior throughout the demanding day. They had met every expectation while maintaining their natural personalities and evident enjoyment of the historic events. Their successful participation in the coronation demonstrated their growing readiness for the royal responsibilities they would inherit as they matured. The day concluded with quiet family time, allowing the children to process their extraordinary experiences while enjoying the comfort and normalcy of being together as a family. The coronation of King Charles III had been a complete success, made even more meaningful by the participation of the next generation of royals who had shown themselves ready to carry forward the traditions and values of the British monarchy. The memories created on this historic day would last forever, providing the Wales children with a deep understanding of their heritage and responsibilities, while giving the nation confidence in the future of the royal family they had watched grow up before their eyes.